Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing chapters 25, 26, and 27 of Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. So, if that's not what you're here for, this is the time to jump off. In these chapters, Shallan puts on a play for Pattern, an audience of one, except it was an audience of two. And then we get a flashback with a pretty cool, I feel like, fight between Dalinar and a shard bearer that we did not know before and won't be knowing after because he is very dead. And then we get a meeting going on in Urithiru. We meet Malata, that new Radiant, talk to her a little bit, and Shallan finds out a secret that we were very worried about how that revelation was going to go. So I'm Data, and with me this week is
Jamie
and Dak.
Joe's gone, as he said last week. Not available for a few weeks because he's traveling. So we have not yet recorded anything for him. He talked about maybe trying to set that up. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the falling rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn. Stronger together now.
So yeah, 3 chapters this week. How did you guys like these 3 chapters?
They weren't bad. I was definitely more interested in what's going on with Shallan in her chapters than I was Dalinar's chapter. But I did kind of like the end of his chapter when, you know, that the thrill was taking over and he was gonna take out Gavilar himself, and then, you know, woo up, mate. And that seems to be a bit of a turning point for him there. So like I thought that was pretty interesting. Like the battle was fine, everything, but I think generally it was we're watching young Blackthorn do young Blackthorn things. So I'm excited to see a little bit of movement. I know that they've got a story to tell, and I understand they're telling the story of, you know, the lead up to the marriage for his wife and the introducing the Rashadium, which is pretty cool too. And the oh my god, shard plate is the word I'm looking for.
Yep, that's right.
So like there's a lot of stuff happening here, but yeah, I'm pretty sick. And I realize that the other guys have probably gone on about this when I wasn't here for a couple of weeks too, but I'm pretty sick of young Blackthorn. I really don't rate young Dalinar as a person. Present day Dalinar, top bloke. Happy to read about him and his viewpoints all the time. But yeah, in the past, something needs to change there. But to see him sort of start having that, oh no, the thrill's not, oh, this isn't a good thing, was interesting. So I'm looking forward to how that changes him now and how we start seeing that happen. I was really into the play. That was a great story, and again, visually, like, it's written really well to be able to see that as you're reading along. So very much enjoyed that. Pretty cool that we've got this being of odium to chase around and find out that we're not just replicating murders either. So that's a bit of fun, bit of a mystery there. And the last chapter, I was like, yep, they're in another meeting, Shallan's drawing, all that sort of stuff. What? Amaran is now High Lord? What the? That's not going to sit well with anyone, particularly Bridgeboy Kaladin. But to finally have some characters have a conversation. And I kind of like how it came about in that it was in that moment Shallan saying, hey, I've got a bone to pick with Amaram as well. And Adolin's gone, oh, no, you don't. This is what happened. And so, you know, Shallan's already pretty fragile, as evidenced by her drawings and all that sort of stuff. So I think Shallan's probably going down a bit of a slippery slope now. So we've got to watch out for her as we're going through the book, because things are not looking happy in Shallan land.
Yeah, this is true.
But the end of that chapter was great. I was like, oh my god, there's so much happening. This is awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely some unexpected moments that pop up. I don't know that anyone saw coming. It's like, yeah, Amaram is the new Sadius, basically. Kaladin's going to love that. And you are definitely not alone, as you said, in being not rating young Dalinar.
No.
I don't think any of the crew is in love with young Dalinar.
Fuck no.
It's probably the point, right? Like you need a bit of a backstory, and we do all love Dalinar at this point. And if it was always a top, I don't think we would love Dalinar any less. But I think you kind of love characters that have managed to overcome things, and yeah,
that's a good point. Like managing to overcome things is definitely a positive. I feel like it really puts a new spin on things because we've been told since the first book, like, oh yeah, Dalinar used to be whatever, but all we ever saw was, modern day Dalinar who's really working hard to be like a good person essentially, and to do all this stuff. And so I don't know how much you guys believed or disbelieved or thought about it all when people were like, well, the Dalinar of back in the day wouldn't have like taken this crap. He would have, I don't know how you guys imagine that, but now that we're reading about it, it's like, oh wow, he was different, all right.
Yeah, I think we get, used to, oh, he's a top bloke now. He must have been a really top bloke then, but he was just, wow, something to see when he was out there, physically fighting and being, righteous for all, and, all this sort of stuff. And you sort of build this picture of almost this perfect warrior. And when you realize, actually, you weren't great. You're like, sure, you may have been an amazing fighter and something to see on the battlefield. And when the thrill takes over and ruthless and all that sort of stuff, but you didn't have realistically that honor behind you. You didn't have that integrity, and you're about to take your brother down. Like you didn't really care. You're pretty ruthless. So yeah, I didn't see that side of Dalinar gonna pop up. But it gives him a bit more depth, and yeah, I still love Dalinar as a character, but I can dislike the way he conducted himself in his youth.
I mean, he kind of dislikes that too, so
True,
it's
yeah.
definitely allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, look, young Dalinar at this point, it's like, I think on a reread, his young chapters would be a lot more interesting to me because at the moment it's just one scene after another of him being a young dumb brute, which isn't interesting in the moment. On a reread, once I know how the steps fall into place, it'll probably be really good. Having the context of, the more time you spend with him like this, the more you're going to appreciate when he finally does come to that conclusion to be better than this, which I'm sure we'll appreciate, but I don't know when that is at this point. At the moment, I'm thinking, oh god, how many more flashbacks of him being a young dumb brute and it's just another battle scene are there going to be? Like, the battle scenes are great and all, but there's just so many of them. And the thing that gets me at the moment is young Dalinar treats nothing he does as important. None of his, he's like, all the scenes he's in, and it's like, oh, this doesn't matter, we'll just do this and then I'll get back to, wenching and drinking. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to treat your scenes with it, seriously, why the hell should we as the audience? So yeah, it's just, at the moment, I'm just like, all right, we're doing this again. Having said that, I agree with Jamie, like the bit at the end of his chapter where the thrill wears off and he's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, oh, okay, we're starting to see some of the depths that we know Dalinar has behind the brute. So cool, more of that, please. As for the rest of the chapters, agreed. I love the play that Shallan does for Padden. Love the story. Wit, you've got competition in the storytelling department, and this spren that is the copycat thing. Like, I want to know how it attaches to the people that it does. Like how it picks. All right, this is because you crammed this many people who don't like each other into one setting. Surely there's got to be a lot more, if not murders, then injuries going on. If it's not just tied to, it's like this thing doesn't seem to be tied just to murders, given Rock got his hand stabbed just like the other dude. So there's got to be a lot more injuries going on. People, knocking heads. All the pubs have bouncers, so why isn't it taking out anyone who gets kicked out by a bouncer or however? Need more information. Fascinated, need more information. And then the final chapter, good stuff. I don't think I like Malata but I guess that's probably the point again. So we'll just have to see where we go with that. Amaram, dickhead as always. Hopefully he can get a Sadius and take a knife through the eye before too long. And yeah, Adolin out here for communication. Who saw that coming? Yeah, probably takes the sting out. It means that when Shallan sees Kaladin, hopefully she will have come to terms with it a bit more, or maybe not. Maybe like she goes full cray cray, and it does seem like she's not quite doing the best in her chapters at the moment. But we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, like if you'd ask me, how do you think Shallan is going to find out what Kaladin did to her brother? Adolin just casually throwing it out there was not anywhere close to the top of my list. So
it doesn't seem nearly epic enough, does it?
No, but I liked it because it made sense for the characters. It made sense for the context of what was going on around them at the time. It's like Adolin's betrothed. Of course, he's not going to hold back information if he has it. But I think the thing I like most about it is this is obviously Adolin knows this is your brother. You're like it's clearly bothering you. And he mentions Shallan Kaladin did that, but he straight away goes into yes, Adolin does his soldiering thing. It's like Kaladin. It wasn't really Kaladin's fault. He just happened to be the soldier on the other side of the battle. That happens in a battle. Like I've been there. So he doesn't judge Kaladin for it, and he's still showing empathy for it. It's like, oh man, this is really gonna mess with Kaladin's head too. As much as Adolin and Kaladin rib each other and give each other shit, it's like Adolin does like him and does respect him. Which, again, I've really come around on Adolin. I like this guy.
Yeah, it's funny because that idea that Kaladin, he's just the guy on the other side. I feel like Shallan kind of already had that with Amaram in the last book, where she's like, "Yeah, okay, so it's like my brother tried to kill him, and he just defended himself. Like, I understand. I still hate him.
Yeah,
and so you got to wonder if this is going to transfer over to Kaladin or how that's going to,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, until Kaladin gets back, we don't really know how that's going to affect their relationship.
Yep.
Because is Kaladin still pining over her as like the hot girl he can't have or something? It's like, oh, guess what? Now she knows what you did, and you didn't tell her.
That's true. That's another thing. They had this conversation, and there was a moment where you could have told her, but you did not.
Yeah, like we saw in the last book. It's like you knew what happened and held it back. So.
Yep. On the other side of it, though, Shallan and Kaladin have a positive-ish relationship at this point, whereas with Amaram, like, she never knew Amaram before, so it's easy to hate that guy. Maybe it won't be as easy to hate Kaladin. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yep. Only one way to find out.
Assuming he makes it back at some point.
I think Kaladin's going to meet up with everyone again at some point. I don't think that's much of a prediction at this point. I'm just like, that's just storytelling.
Unless they get word, like, to Kaladin. It's like, by the way, Shallan knows. I'm going to go and do something over here.
Yeah, he's on the span read, Navani says, Shallan has asked me to pass on. She knows about Hellerin. I don't know what that means. And Kaladin's like, hey, Parchment, I'm sticking with you for a few months.
Yep. I mean, Kaladin could become is it Arya who goes off and it's like in a different continent from the rest of her family for like books? Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Like Arya winds up separate from the rest of the story. But I mean, Daenerys started like that, and she hasn't really linked up with anyone. So Daenerys spent like pretty much the entire series so far just like not connected to the rest of them.
That's a fair point. I was gonna say that could be kind of Seth, but Seth definitely connects in the attempted murders. So.
Yeah, but we haven't seen him in a while. And like I know like we spent last book just going, man, Seth hasn't shown up in a bit, but this time, yeah. There at least at the end of book 1, there was the hint that Seth was definitely going to show up at the Shattered Plains at some point.
Yeah. No
such thing at the end of Words of Radiance or Edge Dancer that like Seth is going to pop up again at some point. I'm sure he will, but we don't even have the hint as to where or when.
No, all we know is he's off with that Herald fella.
Yep. Off with Nail and whatever the hell Nail's doing.
Whatever the hell Nail is doing. Yeah, because that's the big thing at the end of Edge Dancer. He's like, everything I've been doing is wrong. So what does that mean for what happens next?
Yeah, man, I could not imagine skipping Edge Dancer, like finishing Words of Radiance going, oh shit, Seth and Nail are going to come out and kill every Surge Binder they can find, and then I'm assuming they will pop up in this book at some point with a completely different goal, and I'll be like, what the fuck did I miss?
Did you guys have a conversation while we weren't here?
Yeah.
Maybe it could be that they'll rehash briefly the changes in motives. Honestly, we never really knew that much about what Nail's motive was in the first place in just the books. We got more about that in Edge Dancer, for that matter.
Sure.
Also, I like that you called out that Wit has some competition in the storytelling department, because it has always been Wit telling these stories, and now it's like Shallan's turn to tell a story.
Wit pops in. It's like I hear you've been muscling in on my act.
Of course, in the first two books, Wit is generally telling stories to Kaladin, so like to teach him a lesson at an important moment or something. So Shallan is telling the story to Pattern, which I don't know how much good that's going to do.
Yeah, true. And now I just have a picture of Kaladin locked up with the parchment and the Voidspring's giving him shit. And then he looks over and Wit's just sitting there next to him. It's like, hey man, here you going?
What's up?
Like,
have you heard the story of the girl who looked up?
Yeah, so can I tell you a story? And Kaladin's like, is this the time or the place? And Wit's like, yeah, it always is with me.
Yeah. Is it ever not the time or the place? The answer is no. I think whatever, that was a double or triple negative. Anyway. Let's move into these chapters. How about with that note, on that note. So our first one was 25, the girl who looked up. And I feel like we finally get a little piece of meat with these epigraphs, where it's like, I will confess my murders before you. Most painfully, I have killed someone who loved me dearly.
But yeah, you say that, yeah, we get a bit of meat out of this epigraph. So I was like, I don't know about meat, maybe a bit of a rind. Like, it's definitely meat adjacent. It's like, as a hint. But yeah, we'll like, killed someone who loved you dearly. Oh, okay. That's something, but it's not quite all the something.
So just randomly at this point, do we have ideas about who's writing this? I mean, we talked about Yasna before, we talked about Dalinar before, we talked about, I think there were a couple other guesses, but what do you guys think at this point? I
was reading them and thought it does sound more like Dalinar than I think Yasna's off the table. I think that's too obvious anyway. But I had another thought that kind of ties into my prediction this week, which I won't talk about the prediction yet, but I think it could be Shallan in the future, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see. We'll see how we go with that one. But yeah, I think Dalinar still kind of fits with them as well, as we're learning more about Dalinar.
Yeah.
I mean, the title of the book is Oathbringer, and the title of this book is Oathbringer, and like it fits, but I don't know if it's too obvious. So options open.
Okay. That's a good point. Are we almost supposed to think that at this point? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything. It's like, as soon as I got to, I have killed someone who loved me dearly. I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound like Shallan anymore, because that sounds, there's a bit too much feeling behind it, and Shallan is very clinical.
You mean Yasna?
God damn it, every time.
I was like, Shallan's not that clinical.
Yeah,
like, she's
yeah,
okay.
Yasna, that is who I mean.
I agree with what Jamie said, and I'm going to say the opposite. Yeah.
No, fucking hell, I always get these names fucking mixed up. I don't know why it's those two specifically.
It is. It's always those. That's hilarious.
It's always them. I just have this weird blind spot in my brain for mixing up those words, and I can't get rid of it. I have no idea why. Yes, Yasna. Yasna is off the table for the reasons I just outlined above. Dalinar still seems likely. Maybe it's the too obvious option. And yes, Shallan crossed my mind as a possibility now as well. Only fleetingly. I don't have any reasons like to tie into it, but I'm thinking it could be. The other option I have is we don't know where Oathbringer the Sword is at this point after Adolin hoiked it out the window or wherever. So the wild outside theory I'm going is someone else found it and they're writing this.
Oh.
And I don't know who that could be. My initial thought was, oh, maybe it's Renarin, but like, no, he's got a Spren. Like he would hear the screams, so it couldn't be him. So it's got to be someone who is not a Radiant. And I'm still trying to piece together who, but I think it would, if this were to be the case, it would have to be a character we know. So
somebody's hiding a sword out there. Rock has secretly found Oathbringer.
This is definitely not Rock. Like. If it was Rock, this would be a cookbook.
He hasn't called anyone an Airsick Lowlander yet, so it can't be Rock.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And they would be laughing about Chaldung in food and stuff.
Yep.
I do like the idea though that especially after this one that you're like, it could be Shallan. Like, I've killed someone who loved me dearly. Yeah, no, maybe. I actually more than one for her. So
And there's no indication that she's done.
yeah, there's still time, right? Yeah. All right. But the chapter. So Shallan is strolling through the tower. I guess just kind of exploring, it seems like. Yeah, it's very dark and windy, and she's following these rock strata, and she's wearing Vale's clothes, but not Vale's face, which I feel like is a bad idea. If you're going to walk around in the disguise, you should go all the way so that no one sees you like half and half. And she's kind of just picking directions at random and walking around, and eventually she finds that she's strolled out onto the stage of a theater. And there's a bunch of seats out there, and she's up on the stage, and it's like, oh wow, this place really had everything, I guess. And she tells Pattern that when she was a kid, she wanted to be a player, be on stage. That seemed like the greatest thing ever. And he's like, well, what's that? And she has to explain, like, oh, here's what plays are. You'd like them. A bunch of people get together and tell a lie together.
This reminded me of Galaxy Quest when they have when I can't remember the bad guy's name, but he's telling Tim Allen to explain to the good guy aliens. It's like, explain as you would a child.
Yeah, this is what was that guy's name? I can't. Okay, hold on. I keep thinking Emperor Zurg, but that's not Saris. Saris was the guy's name.
That's right. Yeah,
man, that's a good movie.
That is such a fun movie. Is there air? You don't know.
Oh, and just like Tony Shalhoub is so great.
Yep.
In such a weird little role for him, but yeah, it's a terrific cast. In addition to just being really good.
So, I mean, as is often the case, Alan Rickman just walked away with that movie.
Well, yeah,
in an already stacked cast doing an amazing job.
You can't beat Alan Rickman.
Yep.
Like he's always good. Even as Snape, who you're supposed to hate, you're just like, this guy is he is this role.
Yep. I've been watching Kevin Smith doing some interviews where he's talking about directing Alan Rickman in Dogma.
Yeah.
And just be like, I can't believe I'm directing this guy in my little stoner comedy. And he said like the one direction for line reading that he had to give him was the Karate Kid thing, because Alan Rickman had never seen Karate Kid. So when he was doing wax on, wax off, he was doing it like as just a serious line that he was doing. Like this Shakespearean trained actor was still going, oh, wax on, oh, wax off. and Kevin Smith had to go, it's a reference to a movie, man. You need to say it like this. And Rickman just looked at him and just gone, who's the classically trained one here?
I saw that exact clip of Kevin Smith in the interview. Yeah, and he's like, royally trained, Kevin.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, okay. He's like, you have to say it like this or people won't understand the reference. And she's like, excuse me.
How dare.
But also he's like, he was saying it like big, like wax on, wax. And he's like, I mean, maybe his way is better, actually. Like, it's Alan Rickman. What are you gonna,
Yep.
Oh, classic. So, yeah, she's explaining to Pattern what a play is, and Pattern's like, oh, this is great. I wish I could see one of those. And Shallan remembers this play that she saw when the players came through, The Girl Who Looked Up. And she starts telling the story to Pattern, and as she's telling it, like, she's creating it with the Stormlight. Like, you can see the story. And of course, she's like, oh, I haven't drawn this in forever, and she always has to draw before she can make. So it's kind of, we're hitting a new level here. But also at the same time, most of the characters, like, she's creating them from people that she has sketched. So it's like Vatha and Gaz are playing villagers, and Sabariel, and there's a guy with a cart of fruit who's Kaladin. So it's one of those episodes of a sitcom or a TV show where they're doing a whole different story, but they're using the same cast, and it just I like
those Simpsons episodes.
Yeah, those Simpsons ones make sense. I was thinking of I was actually thinking of Deep Space Nine, where they'll sometimes tell a completely different story, or one of the characters is seeing this completely other thing, but it's populated by the people on the show, because why would you pay a bunch of new actors when you've got this cast already?
Yeah.
But anyway, so the story is of this girl who lived in this village, and there was this giant wall. And I love that she's like, "Hey, why is there a wall over there?" And some people are like, "Oh, it's to keep bad things out." What bad things? It's just bad things. It's a wall. Don't go beyond it, or you shall die. And she asks somebody else, like, why is there a wall? And the woman's like, "Yeah, to protect us from the bad things. Don't go beyond it, or you'll die." And there's a little boy, and he's like, "What wall?" It's like the wall right there. That's not a wall. That's just how the sky looks over there. And she's like, "No, it's a big old wall." He's like, "Oh, well, it must be there for a reason. You probably shouldn't go beyond it, or you'll die." And so the girl's like, "Well, I'm unsatisfied with these responses," and she decides to climb the wall. And she's got this big scarf. It reminds me of the game Journey, just always blowing in the wind behind her. And so she climbs the wall. It takes like days, and she sleeps at night by making a hammock out of the scarf and hanging it off of all of these, like, there's a bunch of stuff sticking out of the wall. Spikes and hunched, ugly statues or outcroppings on the side of the wall. And finally, she gets to the top of the wall, really freaking high. And then on the other side of the wall, there's steps, which is way more convenient. And so she walks down the stairs. And once she gets to this other side, she's like, "Oh, now all those like gruesome statues and spikes and things, that all makes sense. The wall was hiding something evil and frightening. It was the people in that village." So it's one of those kind of at cliche endings where it's like, "Oh, we were the evil things all along."
I didn't realize M. Night Shyamalan was in the Stormlight Archive. I mean, this is basically the village, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, in some ways. They didn't have a giant wall to climb over, and then like I feel like she takes this a little bit to heart, or maybe it's just the illusion is getting too big for her because everything kind of breaks apart at that point. And Pattern's like, "Wait, that's the end?" And she says no, but she just summarizes the rest for him. It's like she sees this perfect society lit by stormlight, brings some back, and the storms come as punishment and tear down the wall.
Yeah, got some Prometheus in there.
Yeah, right. Pattern's like, "Oh, so that's how the storms first began." And Shallan's like, "What? No, it's a lie, Pattern. It's just a story. It doesn't mean anything." He says, "Then why are you crying?" And she's like, "Oh, I gotta go back to the market." And so also at some point during this play, like not only has she used Stormlight to create all of the characters and the scene on the stage, but also an audience filled with people. And so as she's wrapping things up, all the play is gone. The audience members start to kind of like puff away. And after they're gone, there's one dude still in the audience, and he stands up and walks out of the theater. And she's like, "Oh, wait, that wasn't one of my illusions." And she runs after this shadowy figure who she spots out in the corridor, and it runs, and she runs after. And she's like, "Is that a person? Can a person look that much like a shadow?" And she chases it down into a room where there's no other way out, but it's not there anymore. And she's like, what happened? Like, what's going on here? And she sees that the wall in this room has a series of deep slots that run from the floor to the ceiling. And she feels air going through. So maybe this is like some sort of ventilation, something or other. And I like to think, what is the purpose of this room? Have the people who designed this place been crazy? But there's some light coming through the slots, and she can hear people echoing. She's like, "Oh, the market is on the other side from here." Huh. And she looks through one of the slots, and something is moving inside. A dark mass wriggled, squeezing between the walls like goo, but with bits jutting out. There were elbows, ribs, fingers, splayed along one wall, each knuckle bending backwards. Which, this is some like horror movie shit here.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I have thoughts.
Okay. Do you want to go into these thoughts?
During predicaments, yes.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. So she thinks, "Oh, this is some kind of spren. Like that's not a people." And she can't fit through here. And she thinks about trying to hack her way through with a shard blade, but like that would take forever. And she's like, "Do I even want to reach that thing? Like that thing is freaky as hell." And she concludes, "No, I don't, but I have to anyway." So she runs around and into the market. And then there's a scream. And she's like, "Oh man, I knew it." Runs towards the scream. And she finds a big horn-eater man cursing and holding his hand. And she's like, "Oh, I recognize this guy. He's not in uniform, but this is Rock from like the Bridges." And his hand was stabbed right through the middle. And she's Vale now. Like we've changed the description. It's no longer Shallan does this, Shallan does that. It was Radiant for a whole minute. And then it became Vale. So she's put on the face at this point. And she's like, hey, what happened here? And Rock's like, who are you to ask me what happened? And she's like, I'm on Aladar's policing force. He's like, oh, whatever. I didn't even do anything. Somebody pulled a knife. I didn't see him well. Long coat and hat. A woman screamed. And then he attacked me. And she's like, holy shit, who's dead? He was dead? Nobody's dead. The guy stabbed my hand and then ran away. Do you think maybe somebody was angry about the rule of the tower and so he attacked me for being in the Colin Guard? And so this is where Vale realizes, like, this guy is just like the person I stabbed in Owl's Alley. Like a horn eater, tall, burly, looks very similar to the guy that I stabbed the other day. And not only that, but the description of the person who stabbed him, like long coat, hat, like this is what Vale looked like when she did the stabbing. So it's not just murders that are being copied, it is other things. And I mean, Dak brought this up in his thoughts. Like, what does that mean? How much has this been happening? Maybe we haven't heard much about it because smaller acts of violence aren't as big a deal as like murders. And honestly, we wouldn't have even heard about the two dark-eyed women being murdered if Shallan hadn't gone out to investigate and intentionally dug up this information. So maybe this is happening more than we think. Also, while we're out here, there's a woman who's like, yeah, I knew I'd find you here. And it is one of the women who was at that table the other night at Owl's Alley. And the woman's like, yeah, what'd this guy do? Or do you just like stabbing horn eaters? And Vale's like, yeah, no, that wasn't me. And the woman's like, yeah, sure it wasn't. Anyway, I've been looking for you. My name is Ishna. I'm an excellent writer. I can take dictation. I have experience moving in the market underground. And Shallan's like, what? She's like, this woman wants to join the Ghost Bloods and is trying to give Vale her resume, essentially.
I don't work in HR.
Right? Yeah, it's like, find somebody else. And Shallan's like, yeah, we're not recruiting. And this woman grabs her. It's like, please, the world is wrong now. Nothing makes sense. But you guys know things, and I don't want to be blind anymore. And Shallan hesitates for a second, but she's like, no, this is... Honestly, Shallan, you probably can't even recruit for the Ghost Bloods. Like, I don't even know why you're considering it. But she says, do the smart thing, forget about me and my organization, and she takes off. So I'm sure that will never come up again, and this Ishna person won't be relevant anymore. Chapter 26 is Blackthorn Unleashed, and we've gone back to 29 years ago. Dalinar and Evie are now engaged, betrothed, whatever. And she's burning some prayers for him before this battle that they're about to have. And we find out a little bit about her from his perspective, where he thinks she's a little bit weird. Like, their religion's strange. She does talk about Jezereza and Kelek, but she calls them Yasi and Kelai. Doesn't even mention the Almighty. This is strange. And her prayer or request or whatever is the one watch you near husband and soften your temper. And he's like, that's not the point of a battle, Evie. And she's like, you don't need to kill in anger. If you must fight, do it knowing that each death wounds the one. And he's like, yeah, all right, sure. And there's a great little paragraph where he thinks the Ardents don't care that he's marrying some pagan. They're just like, oh no, this is great. You'll bring her to the truth of Vorinism.
Yeah, not selling me on the Ardentia here.
And he wonders, if this is even okay with him, what would it take to earn the Ardent's displeasure? We know, and he knows in the modern day what it would take.
Ironic.
And she encourages him to be a man, not a beast, Dalinar. And then she hugs him, and soldiers walk by and snicker. It's the Blackthorn getting hugged and acting lovey before a battle. How stupid is that? We also find out that apparently their Evie's tradition calls for a very long engagement, and he's like, I wish we could just get the marriage done, but whatever.
Dalinar just wants to get something he doesn't care about over with. Shocking.
And we find out that this, after 2 years of political maneuvering, here we are, a big old battle. And this is the fight for the kingdom. This is the last holdouts are here, and we're going to take them down, and we're going to unite this kingdom. And there's a moment where Gavilar's like, your young friend didn't show up for the battle. And Dalinar goes, Sabariel? Yeah, he's not my friend. There's a hole in the enemy line still waiting for him. Reports say he had a problem with his supply lines. And Dalinar goes, no, he's a coward. If he'd arrived, he would actually have to pick a side. So I totally buy Sabariel as the guy who's like, look, I'm gonna stand back at the giant final battle and just whichever side wins, I'll show up and be like, oh hey, my friends, I was on my way to help you. And
Yep, absolutely can see Sabariel doing that. I'm a little surprised that like Gavilar's tying into Dalinar. Like of all people that someone like Sabariel would even jokingly cozy up to Dalinar, young Dalinar, really?
that seems strange, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some history there that I kind of want to know about now.
Yeah. Because I mean, in the present day stuff, we've never known Dalinar and Sabariel to have any kind of history. So
No, it's true. And you have to wonder if young Sabariel is different from modern day Sabariel, if he's evolved also as a person in these years and how that has gone.
well, not according to this description.
Yeah, fair.
He just shows up on the battlefield after the battle's done. It's like, who wants a margarita?
And a massage, you know.
Yeah. Call them M&Ms.
Nice. And they see a herd of Ryshadium galloping by, and when it was just horses, Dalinar was about to order like them to be rounded up because horses are valuable. But it's like, oh, Ryshadium, never mind. You can't round those up. They don't often come this far east, and you can see Spren trailing after them in the air. Music Spren for some reason made no storming sense. And so Gavilar says, I need you to do something for me today, brother. High Prince Kalinor himself needs to fall. As long as he lives, there will be resistance. If he dies, his cousin Loradar Vama can seize power. And apparently Vama is going to be more amenable to being ruled by Gavilar. And Dalinar's like, okay, well, I'll take care of it then. And Gavilar's like, hey, I mean, he's not going to join the battle easily. But he's a shard bearer, so... Dalinar goes, okay, so we need to force him to engage. And then Gavilar smiles at him. He's like, what? Well, I'm just pleased to see you talking tactics. And Dalinar's like, I'm not an idiot. I always pay attention to like the tactics of a battle. I just don't care for endless meetings and jaw wagging. Which I have to say, I think from what we've seen in the past, that is absolutely not accurate. He has 100% come to these battles and been like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And okay, his elites come up and they're like, order, sir. And he's like, just stay out of my way. And then he goes into it. And basically, Dalinar kills a lot of people. Like a lot of people.
Yeah. Without even really seeing them.
Yeah.
Going through.
And like it's all these normal soldiers are coming up and he's just got his shard plate, his shard blade. It says that he hits on one side and kills like a dozen and then hits on the other side and kills another dozen. And I love that like they keep coming. And he's like, people talk about common men bringing down a shard bearer, but surely that's got to be a fabrication, something to like try to make these men fight when they should be running away. Also ironic, given that we've seen it happen. Not everybody's Kaladin, though,
Law of averages would suggest.
And his horse is not a Ryshadium still. He hasn't got Gallant yet. So when he kind of jumps it forward, it lands and breaks its back because a shard bearer, a man in full shard plate, very heavy.
So that horse suffered because Brandon doesn't like horses.
Yeah. That's. Yeah.
Yep. Once again, take a drink every time Brandon kills or maims a horse.
Ugh. And then Dalinar's feeling the thrill. We get several bits about the thrill as he's cutting down these guys. To the point that at some point he's just like seeing red. It says a redness grew at the edge of his vision, eventually covering the landscape like a veil. It seemed to shift and move like the coils of an eel, trembling to the beats of his sword. That's weird.
Is the thrill something that's reserved for like specifically for battle? Like, you know how they have their callings and all that sort of stuff. Is that something, or can you experience the thrill in relation to something else?
I feel like we've only ever seen it in relation to fighting.
Yeah, because it sounds nasty.
I guess that doesn't mean it
right.
couldn't show up somewhere else, but I think that's the only place we've seen it.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's there's something wrong there for sure. And we've seen in previous books where people start to recognize like the thrill gets me really into murdering all these people, and then it goes away, and you're like, oh my god, like what the hell am I doing? So yeah, it's messed up. But he gets pulled out of it by somebody calling his name, and he's kind of pissed off about it. And so he's like, Dalinar, Blackthorn, hey. And he has to turn around like, what? And there's a guy in Kholin blue that he raises his shard blade like he's going to hit him. And he's like, wait, I know this guy. That's Kadash? One of my captains? Yeah, okay. And only now does he look around and see. It's like there's a buzzing sound in his ears and he has to like shake his head. And there's just hundreds upon hundreds of dead guys. Like, so many, the ground is so littered with them that you can't see the grass or the stone. And he's like, wow. It says he grinned in satisfaction. So he's like, oh yeah, that's me, all right. And then he realizes that 3 of the guys he sees are wearing Kholin blue and the armband of his elites. And he's like, oh. And then Kadash is like, Blackthorn, your task is accomplished. Look over there. There's High Prince Kalinor. He's coming. And Dalinar's like, all right, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Pull back the elites. Don't engage unless I fall. Also, gather those of us who fell and make certain they are cared for. They and theirs are cared for. So yeah, he was so like seeing red and murdering people that he killed his own guys, it seems like.
Super fucked up.
Yeah. And so him and Kalinor come against each other, and Kalinor's trying to, like, I don't even know what you would call it exactly, but he's like, I hear you've been single-handedly destroying my army. And Dalinar says, they fight for the Tranquiline Halls now. He says, would that you had joined them to lead them. And curious how quickly tyrants grow religious, it must be convenient to tell yourself that your murders belong to the Almighty instead. And Dalinar's like, no, they do not belong to him. I worked hard for those kills. The Almighty cannot have them. He can merely credit them to me when weighing my soul. And then I love the dude's like, so if I kill you, Blackthorn, what happens then? And Dalinar goes, well, then Sadeas gets a crack at you. He goes, oh, no honor on this battlefield, I see. He says, don't pretend you're any better, Dalinar says. Like, I know what you did to rise to your throne. So they're all Alethi. They're all just, like, terrible. I think that's the like what we've learned about the Alethi up to this point.
Yep. This is not a fan of this society.
Yeah. And so they fight for a while. Dalinar kind of like he starts beating this guy's plate up pretty good, and if somebody's gonna call it a leading, Dalinar takes the lead. He breaks like half of the other guy's breastplate, and Kalinor takes off and like climbs up on top of a big rock, and Dalinar has to follow him up. And there's another fight on top of a big rock. And honestly, I make it sound dull, but it's actually a pretty cool, pretty well written fight, I feel like. And he kind of knocks the guy off the edge.
As far as fight scenes go, it was pretty well done. I'll give it that.
Yeah. I just feel like you guys have pointed out that these Dalinar flashbacks, it's always like some big fight, and honestly, we know how the fight's going to go, more or less, because we know that Dalinar does not die. So it's just like, okay. I can appreciate how when they're written in a fun and enjoyable way, but it's a foregone conclusion nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, that may not necessarily take away from the moment to moment, like if the fight is done particularly well. And this one was, like the whole climbing up the cliff and everything, chucking rocks at each other. It was inventive. So I think that was that made it a bit more fresh than just like jumping into a chasm.
Mm-hmm. He knocks the guy off, and the guy manages to hold on to like the edge of the rock, and he looks up and he says, "Mercy." And Dalinar says, "This is mercy," and then shoves his shard blade straight through the guy's face. So yeah, that's nice. And then he kind of looks around. He's like, that was a good fight, and I did what I was supposed to do, but I don't feel like satisfied. I don't feel good. A voice inside is like, that's it? Weren't we promised more? And then he looks down, and Kalinor's honor guard is like trying to collect his shards. Somebody's got the sword. Some guys are trying to get the armor. He's like, hell no, that's mine. I won those. And so he has to get down there and kill them also. And I feel like coming down that fight with the shard bearer and now like slaughtering a bunch of other guys, it starts to like stoke that the thrill within him again. He's getting back into the fight. And that's when he sees his brother. His brother's sitting over there. He's pulled back from the battle, taking a little rest. And Dalinar thinks, shouldn't the strongest rule? Why should I sit back and listen to men chat instead of war? There's the guy with the thing I want, a throne and the woman that should have been mine. And so he starts towards Gavilar and his men, passion spread like tiny crystalline flakes dropping around him. Gavilar was weak. He intended to give up his momentum and rest upon what Dalinar had won for him. There's only one way to make sure the war continued, to keep the thrill alive. One way for Dalinar to get everything he deserved. So he starts running towards these guys. And some of the men in the group are like lifting up their hands like, hey, what's up? And he's like, weak. They don't even present weapons. They deserve this. And then Gavilar pulls off his helmet and smiles at his brother. And Dalinar realizes, like, holy shit, what am I doing? Stormfather, what am I doing?
Have you seen Madagascar?
Yeah.
I got very, when like Alex has not had a steak for ages and he then starts going for Marty and he's like, it's mine, my kill. And he gets really like frazzled. It's exactly what I had playing through my head at this point. Dalinar's like, it's mine, my kingdom to run.
Oh my god.
Nope, woo up. So, yeah, like two Dalinars are like Alex the lion from the zoo and then Alex the lion who hasn't had a steak.
I would never have connected those things, but you are totally right.
That makes so much sense.
Oh my gosh.
Give the man a steak and he'll calm down.
Actually, to be fair, for what we've seen of young Dalinar, a steak probably would calm him down.
Yeah, as long as he could eat it. You give him a knife and a fork, and steak always calms me down.
Dalinar, played by Ben Stiller.
That is not the right casting. I do not support this.
Oh yeah, just wait till you got Gavilar played by Chris Rock.
Oh, yeah, that puts Gavilar as Chris Rock, doesn't it? I don't know.
Oh my goodness, no, yeah.
Oh, how many people just turned the show off in disgust?
That's what we need is our insane casting of the week. Like just like it's you hate it because you know how perfect it is.
Yep.
Chris Rock is Gavilar. There you go. And
Seth's killing him. He's like, "You're biting my butt."
No, that's not right. That's not cool.
That's not cool.
Does that make like the lemur king like Taravantian or?
That absolutely does.
Oh my gosh!
Look at my crown; it has a gecko on it.
Welcome,
bless.
King Taravantian, to Uruthiru. Thank you, King Dalinar. I like to move it.
Oh.
Well, enjoy what happened in my head to this scene. For everyone listening, I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
No, this is one of those. It's like you had to live through it. Now everyone does.
Yep. I'm trying to decide who's the Jada Pinkett Smith character now. I guess maybe Navani.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway,
David Schwimmer as Elokar.
Oh my god.
That does work for some reason. Yeah. Like, do we have anybody who's more neurotic than Elokar? I'm not sure we do.
No.
Holy
I
shit.
don't think so. Not yet.
Oh my. Okay. Anyway,
We've just broken this book.
Yep. No one will ever be able to read the book the same way again. Gavilar says, "Hey, brother, did you see? The day is won. High Prince Ruthar brought down Galam winning shards for his son. Talinor took a blade, and I hear you drew out Kalinor. Tell me you didn't let him escape." And Dalinar's like, "Oh no, he's dead." And like just points at a pile of silvery metal amid some rubble. And Gavilar's like, hail the Blackthorn men, hail him. And Dalinar feels so shitty about what he was about to do that he's like, "Hey, I'm going to give that plate and blade to you, Gavilar, as a gift for your children." And Gavilar's like, "Yasna? Why would she need shards?" And Dalinar's like, no, you keep them. And Gavilar's like, "Okay, I mean, I guess you do already have plate to give your heir when you have one eventually." He's like, "After this, Toe will have to agree that we can protect him and his line. I suspect the wedding will happen within the month." And this is where Gavilar sits down and he thinks, "Never again. I give way for Gavilar in all things. Let him have the throne. Let him have love. I must never be king." So this is a very big moment for Dalinar, I feel like, and explains a lot about like why the amazing warrior is serving his brother and the way that he treated Elokar all this time.
Yeah, it's like this is actually some insight into his character rather than just point me in a direction, I'll kill them all.
There was some of that too, though.
I mean, yes, but it shows there's more to him than just that as a young man.
Yeah. And then we get another picture from Shallan's sketchbook. This one is called Spren in the Wall. And it's not as disturbing as the horse one, but mostly because, like, I don't know what the hell this is.
I see 2 eyes and a lower jaw.
And I see what. Yeah, I assume those are 2 eyes, and then I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe that's an upper set of teeth and a lower jaw. Maybe now that you say that, I think maybe I can see that. In which case, it's even freakier than it was before. But
It
Yeah.
sort of reminds me of the character Warlock from X-Men,
uh,
like the alien technology virus guy. Lovely dude.
lovely fella.
That legitimately is. But yeah, just like the expression, the way it's framed, it's like, oh yeah, I can sort of see Warlock in this.
Weirdly for me, now that you've made me look for like this lower jaw and upper part of the mouth here, you ever see Treasure Planet? It reminds me of the robot from Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah, I can sort of see that if he got squished.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I could see that. It's either that or it's Beaker from the Muppets having a really bad day, like worse than normal.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Anyway, our last chapter is called "Playing Pretend," and the epigraph: I will confess my heresy. I do not back down from the things I have said, regardless of what the Ardents demand. All right. I feel like that feels kind of Dalinar-ish.
That feels very Dalinar.
Yeah. Anyway, we come in to Shallan is at a meeting, and there's some politicians arguing, and she is trying to not be involved mainly. Like she brought a pillow to sit on and patterns hanging around, and she's like up here drawing. Dalinar is at the front, and there's one of those maps that like he and Shallan create together with their powers somehow. We still don't understand that. Taravangian's here, the High Princes, their wives, Elokar. Renarin is over here in his Bridge 4 uniform, looking uncomfortable. And there's Adolin, like, joking around with the Bridge 4 guys also. And Shallan's like, Radiant should be down there, engaging in this important discussion about the future of the world. But Shallan is instead up here drawing. And she's drawing the picture that we just saw. The slot obscured by a mashed up figure with bulging inhuman eyes. And Pattern's like, yeah, that looks right. And she goes, that has to be some kind of spren, right? And he's like, I feel like I should know. This is a thing from long ago. Long, long ago. And Shallan's like, okay, so why is it here? And Pattern's like, I don't know. It's not a thing of us. It is of him. And Shallan goes, oh, an ancient spren of odium. Delightful. And down in the actual business happening, they're talking about Thelana and Azir. And apparently Eerie has made it clear that they've joined the enemy at this point, so that's not great. There's a lot of them gathering in Marat, which... bring up their own Shar map again. Marat is like kind of right in the middle at the very southern end of the continent.
It's actually not too far from Uthir geographically.
It's not that you're right, yeah. And it's right next to Tukar. So apparently the enemy are gathering there, or a large number of them at least. So who knows where they're going to head to? That might be too close to Uthir for comfort, honestly. If they even know where it is. The Iriali have taken the chance to strike eastward as they always wanted to. They'll seize Rira and Babatharnum. So war is starting is the basics of this, and it's not looking good for the home team. We find out that cities have been going dark as in relation to span reads, like the information coming out. The span reads in Kolinar had started working as soon as the high storms returned. But then they'd cut off one by one. And the last report claimed armies were gathering near the city. Then nothing. So yeah, that doesn't sound good. They got word from Kaladin, just a glyph that means time. So he's like, you guys just wait. And Dalinar says the enemies are making a play for the Oath Gates too. Like, we want the Oath Gate cities, so do they. I think they're going to strike at Azir or try to assault Yaakoved. And Aladar's over here like, yeah, whatever Dalinar says, I'm thinking he's right, because he's Dalinar. Meanwhile, High Prince Ruthar is like, it says the oily man leaned against the wall across from the others. It's like, who cares what you say, Aladar? It's amazing you can even see, considering the place you've gone and stuck your head these days.
I mean, we know Ruthar is a fuckwit, but
Yeah.
like lately we've seen Aladar being like Mr. Logical and scrutinizing in the meetings. So it's like, if he's just happy to throw this out there, it's like I would trust him at this point.
That's fair. He has like brought up reasonable, like smart points. Yeah.
Yeah. Although again, like that's something we, the readers, have seen. Like the other people may not have. The other characters.
That's true. Ruthar was like Sadeas's closest allies, so yeah, not shocking to anyone that he's still not on board.
I just love how Aladar's ready to just like shard blade him on the spot.
Yep, he sticks his hand out like, okay, let's do this.
I was like, all right, I wasn't really an Aladar fan before now, but you don't fuck around no more, and I'm kind of on board.
I like that it's like Aladar puts out his hand to summon his shard blade, and Dalinar has to stop him, and like things are getting hot down there. And then the next few paragraphs is about Shallan drawing. She's drawn a sketch of Sadeas, and then one of the Bright Lord Peril who was murdered. And she's like, yeah, these guys do look kind of similar. And then she's got pictures of the two Horn Eaters, and like, yeah, they're kind of similar too. This spren is mimicking violence, killing or wounding in the same way that stuff happened in previous days. It's like an impersonation. And then someone's like, hey, what are you drawing? And it is Mulata, the new Radiant. And Sean's like, people. I enjoy figure drawing. You're the Surge Binder that came with Taravangian, right? And Mulata's like, yeah, I'm not his. I came for convenience because Spark suggested we might look to your Thiru now that it's been rediscovered. So I guess Spark is her spren.
It's kind of cool name.
They talk about how there used to be lots and lots of Radiants, and now there's just a few. There's just 4 of us, and Shallan's like, well, 5. There's a flying bridge man out there somewhere. But, more are probably looking for a way to reach us, like you did. And Mulata's like, well, yeah, but, I mean, why? We don't have to do the stuff the same way the old Radiants did. And Shallan goes, yeah, well, that's true, but maybe this isn't the time to experiment now that a desolation has started? And the woman goes, curious that we only have the word of a few stuffy Alethi about this whole desolation business, eh, sister? And then she kind of takes off and saunters, it says, to the front of the room. I'm like, Shallan, you were there when, like, the storm happened and the red eyes and stuff. You could have been like, no, I saw that also. She just chose not to mention anything. And then after she's gone, Shallan goes, well, she's annoying. And Pattern says, it'll be worse when she starts destroying things. What, destroying? Dustbringer, Pattern said. Her spren, they like to break what is around them. They want to know what's inside. So yeah, that sounds worrying.
Yeah.
But also, I want to see it now.
Mm-hmm. Until they start breaking people's spirits or, breaking people's souls.
I want to see what's inside your spirit. Let's see.
Yeah.
And then everything goes quiet, and ILI Sadeas comes in. And I love that Dalinar's, like, he's trying. He's like, Brightness Sadeas, I'm so glad you came. We could use your wisdom. And she's like, yeah, I'm not here for your bullshit, Dalinar. I'm here because this was a convenient place to find all of you. So the heir to the High Princedom is her nephew, but he's too young. So we've decided, and Dalinar goes, hey, hold on. Let's talk about this. I have an idea. Little untraditional, but, and she's like, tradition is our ally, Dalinar. I don't think you've ever understood that as you should.
I'm curious. It's like, we've seen in the flashbacks, like, Sadeas and Eli were together even before Dalinar and Evie were, and like they just never had kids?
I guess not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what the reason for that is.
That would require them to care about someone other than themselves.
I mean, I guess,
I don't know
but
that they were capable of that in the long term.
They did seem to in fact care about each other. So
Yeah, but Dalinar, who was supposed to be, a great friend and ally, they were quite happy to take him down. Like, I don't think it would have fit in their agenda to do that. I mean, to be fair, we haven't got enough young Sadeas, but certainly present day Sadeas, I don't think that would have been a smart move for them.
I mean, look, sure, but Sadeas was all about planning and trying to set him up in the best possible position. It seems odd that they never once considered, maybe we should have a direct heir of our own.
I mean, if only you know how valuable Adolin is to his father. It's like having a potentially very skilled young man to help you could make all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, like, to have an heir would, as well be probably beneficial for your house. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't well, now I'm curious if anyone's ever asked Brandon, like, could they not have kids, or what's the deal with that?
I mean, they also live in wartime. Did they have one and lose them?
Oh, that's true. That could happen
That's
too.
also
Yeah.
possible, yeah.
That could be awful.
I mean, especially considering this whole conversation where she's saying like, "Oh yeah, like my nephew is too young to be heir." It's like, so they're only just announcing that Amaram is gonna take over as heir. Did they not have a plan in case Sadeas died in battle? Because Sadeas was still going out on plateau runs. He was still
Right.
at risk, and they had no plan in place in case he died.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's nothing in here. There's very little about. There's only 3 mentions of Iali at all in the Word of Brandon things here. So I guess not a lot of questions about her. That's interesting. Which I wouldn't have expected that. I would have thought a lot more people would be talking about. But yeah, she proclaims that High Marshal Amaram is going to be the regent and heir to the house title. He is, for all intents and purposes, High Prince Sadeas as of now. I would ask the king to ratify this. And Elgar has to it's like, wait, is that legal? And his mom's like, yeah, no, it's okay. And Amaram says, steps forward. And he's like, Dalinar, I'm hoping that the recent friction between us won't prevent us from working together for the good of Alethkar. I've spoken to Brightness Iali, and I think I've persuaded her that our differences are secondary to the greater good. And Dalinar's like, I mean, do you really think you're one to talk about what's good? And Amaram says, everything I've done has been for the greater good. Everything. I know you intend to pursue legal action against me. I will stand trial, but let's postpone that until after we've saved the world.
What's this wee business, dickhead?
Well, I mean, if he's going to be a high prince, he's going to get involved, I guess.
Yeah.
And so Elokar acknowledges. Elokar doesn't do anything until he gets a nod from Dalinar, like, okay, fine. And then he's like, all right, I acknowledge this. Amaram is high prince now. And they have a moment. Dalinar goes, high prince. And Amaram goes, high prince. Tipping his head a little bit. And then Adolin goes, bastard. And not even quietly, to Shallan by himself, but apparently just where everyone could hear.
Fucking hell.
That's how he's going to address him now.
Adolin, I salute you.
Dalinar's like, I mean, maybe you should take a moment to yourself, Adolin. He goes, yeah, sure, and takes off.
And Adolin's like, no. Amaram inherits everything from Sadeas, including the way that I would address Sadeas.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just trying to let him live up to the amazing work that Sadeas put in becoming a bastard.
Yep, that's how I address the head of your house. Get used to it, buddy.
It's a term of endearment. It's a term of great respect. There's a series called Ranger's Apprentice. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but
no.
At one point, it's like a medieval England sort of setting. But at one point, they go to their world's equivalent of Japan, and this guy is this knight really impresses the people there, and they give him this nickname, and they just always call him by this name. And he's always like, what does that mean? And they're like, it is a term of great respect. And that's the only answer that they ever give to that. Eventually, it turns out it means black bear or something because of how much he eats. But it's a really funny running gag in that book. Okay. So Adolin takes off and Shallan follows him, which, as we find out shortly, apparently that if she's not close enough to Dalinar, that map will just disappear. So she kind of screws up the entire meeting by taking off. But hey, this is her betrothed, so she's going to go help out. And she's like, hey, you want to talk? And he says no, and then proceeds to talk. When I was young, I used to look up to him. I started getting suspicious when I got older, but I guess part of me still wanted to believe what they said about him. A man above all the pettiness and the politics, a true soldier. And they walk off, and as they take a lift, Adolin's like, man, Callan is not going to like this. Amaram is High Prince. The two of us spent weeks in jail because of the things that man did. And Shallan's like, yeah, I think he killed my brother. She just chucks it out there. Middle of the conversation, yeah, I think that guy killed my brother.
I mean, she's opened up 2 other serious truths to him. Why not that?
Yeah, I just feel like maybe that's something that requires a little bit of lead up before you just throw it out, but whatever.
Nah, just chuck it out there. I'm really surprising. Make sure he's listening.
Yeah, that'll do it. And Aelin's like, what? And she's like, yeah, he has a shard blade. The last time I saw it, my brother Helloran had it. From what I can gather, they fought. Amaram killed him and got the blade. And Adolin's like, Shallan, you know where Amaram got that sword, right? On the battlefield? From Kaladin. The bridge boy insisted that he saved Amaram's life, killed a shard bearer, and then Amaram took the sword and killed his squad. That's basically the whole reason they hate each other. And Shallan's only response is, "Oh." And then she thinks to herself, "Tuck it away. Don't think about it." Because that's how she deals with difficult shit. And Adolin's like, "Why did your brother try to kill him? Did he, know he was corrupt?" Jeez, Kaladin didn't know any of that, poor guy. Everyone would have been better off if he just let Amram die. Which, weirdly, is, I think, super accurate. Kaladin was way too determined to do a good job in his job as, sergeant in Amram's army or whatever. If he'd just been a little bit less good at his job, then it would all been fine. Although, I guess, in that moment, I think it was more, the Shardbearer had killed some of his men, and he was just pissed off. And he's like, "I'm gonna get that motherfucker." So maybe that's different. Yeah, Shallan has no idea why Helleran wanted to kill Amarams. She's like, "Yeah, we didn't talk that much. He left when I was really young." Don't confront it, she tells herself. Don't think about it. Don't think about Kaladin and Helleran. Nope. And she thinks about what Helleran said when he confronted her father. "There are more important things in this world, more important than you and your crimes." And she's like, Mraize knows something about this. And he's dangling it like a sweets to entice a child to obedience. But also the thing that he wants is the thing that she's doing anyway. So
what I'm really hoping for is she does whatever, and he goes, "All right, prepare for this dramatic reveal. Helleran was killed by your friend Kaladin." And she's like, "Fuck off, dude. I already know that."
You got to have more than that, right?
Just completely take the wind out of his sails. And he's like, oh, okay.
That would be amazing. Yep, I'm on board with this. And then we get to another freaky moment where, they split up. Adolin goes to visit his father's horse. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm not really interested in that, so I'll go towards my room." And then she starts looking through her sketchbook and finds some weird shit that she does not remember drawing. "When did I draw this?" And Pattern's like, "I don't remember that either." And she starts flipping through and she sees that freaky horse drawing, transforming, lines sweeping from a central point, confused and chaotic, transforming to the heads of horses with the flesh ripping off. It was grotesque, nauseating. Agreed, actually, yeah. So apparently she's drawn some weird shit that she does not remember, and that's not a good sign.
I just assumed the nightmarish horse picture was just Brandon working out some issues.
Yeah, right, maybe. I love the idea that he would put that in the book. He worked out some issues with the horse, and then he has to explain why Shallan drew that, and so it's just I don't remember drawing that. How weird. She's like, "What is happening to me?" And Pattern goes, "Do we run? Just away out of this place?" And she says, "No."
I feel like he jumps to "let's get the fuck out of here" pretty quickly.
He really does. And I think maybe it's just that's what Shallan does, is run away from the things that are disturbing. I don't know. But she goes to visit her soldiers. She finds Vatha and the crew playing cards, while Gaz is sitting on a chamber pot in the corner, has not bothered to close the cloth doorway till she shows up.
Yep, that sounds like Gaz.
Yeah.
All the rest of the guys can deal with the sight and smell of him doing a shit, but
yeah, I don't care if it's all guys in the room. You close that, okay?
you close the fucking door, Gaz.
Yeah.
But I
This
mean,
was going to be my question. Is this a thing that happens? Surely not.
Not where I am. Not where I go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe some people. If you're in prison, maybe. I don't know.
I get if the choice was taken away from you, if you're in prison and it's right there and that's, well,
Yeah.
you know what, that's where you have to be. Okay, that sucks. But there's a curtain.
Yeah.
You could have closed it at any time.
Apparently it takes a whole second to close the damn curtain. Yeah.
but I guess, should we really expect better from Gaz? It's Gaz.
Yeah, I knew Tack would be like, "No, yeah, that sounds about the right speed for Gaz." Yeah.
Yeah, he's in his natural habitat, being/doing shit. It's just so easy to punch on this guy. He's such a jerk.
I mean, he's been less of a jerk since he left the bridge cruise. You have to admit.
Guess. Begrudgingly.
He found Shallan that book and was very proud of himself when she praised him for it. He's trying. We learned she's got 12 men now. Some of them, some of the guys she had went off to other jobs. Some of them died. 12 guys left. And she goes, "I have been an awful employer." And Red, she still doesn't know how the tall bearded man got that nickname. So I think he doesn't actually have red hair, or she would know that. So he's just called Red. He's like, no, I mean, you pay us on time. You haven't gotten too many of us killed. I think you're all right. Meanwhile, there's a guy named Shab who's like, I got killed. Shut up, Shab. You're
Oh.
not dead.
Oh, good. Here's the Irish dude.
Oh, I'm dying this time, Sarge.
Like with the stereotypical Irish.
I love Vatha's responses. Then at least you'll be quiet. Even he is totally on board with Shallan now. He hated her so much at first, and she's won him over. He's like, look, hey, you've done right by us. And she goes, okay, well, but the free ride is over. I have work for you. Vatha shrugs, and some of the others look disappointed. And we end the chapter with her going, I'm afraid it might be dangerous, and it will probably involve you getting a little drunk. And that's the end. So there we go.
Just imagining this scene. It's like the bravest thing you'll ever do. Drink this horn-eater white. And some of the guys are just like, oh fuck no, I'll face down Voidbringers before I touch that stuff.
Yeah, no, I've heard what that does. We're not touching. No way. Okay, predicaments. Let's move into predicaments. We have 3 chapters again for next time, and this will take us almost to the end of part 1. The chapters, chapter 28, 29, and 30. 28 is called Another Option. 29 is called No Backing Down. And 30 is called Mother of Lies. So, what do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen next? What predicaments do you have to share with the world today?
The chapter titles, I don't know. Could be anything. Mother of Lies. Lies seems like something Patton's all about, so maybe that's a Shallan chapter. No idea on the other ones, though. Thoughts. Okay. Epigraphs we kind of already talked about a little bit. Dalinar. I think Dalinar is still my first choice. I think most of those things fit in with things that we're hearing and things that we know. And maybe, it's talking about people that he's killed, people that he's loved. Yes, we know he's killed a lot of people, but maybe he's more involved in his wife's death than we think. We've heard him talk about things such as, that day, like I should have known what was happening or something like that. So we know there's reasons he wanted to bury that. So maybe there's something not particularly nice in there. But my other thought was, as we discussed, like possibly Shallan in the future. We know that she killed her mother and father. I don't know that she would go as far as writing something about how much she loved these people, but maybe she does something in the future that gets someone killed that she's close to. Hopefully not one of our current favorite characters, but maybe it's Patton. Maybe she falls into, sorry, Patton. They're all saying you'll kill us anyway, but maybe that happens. So I'm not ruling Shallan out as a possibility, but I still think Dalinar's like the one to watch out for. Shallan, I think this is where all the interesting stuff is coming in. So she's doing a lot of work creating her alter egos, Radiant and Veil. There's things happening that she's not aware. It's almost like she's not too clear on, is that real? Is that not real? Did this really happen? Now she's got physical stuff that neither she or Patton remembers. So I'm wondering if she's sort of building another persona that we don't know about, or maybe this Spren of Odium is latching onto her effectively to be another version of herself. It could explain why it's watching her specifically, but it could be. And sort of, I had the thought that maybe Shallan's body, driven by something else, is doing the copycat killing or copycat crime.
Ooh.
But the timing doesn't necessarily work out for Rock being stabbed in the hand.
Mm.
So I think that's kind of when that theory went out the window for me. It came and went very, very quickly. But I mean, it could work for other things. Yeah, but this whole and having such a big focus this week on bury it, don't think about it, push it down, don't let it rule you. Yep, let's just not deal with that. I feel like that's going to fuel something inside her that, with her abilities, would be explosive. So I think there's something not very good coming in the future for her. And maybe as a result of that, she gets someone that she loves killed, potentially. That's really all I've got this week. Nothing too new otherwise.
Like you were like, not one of our favorite characters, maybe Pattern. I was like, but Pattern is one of my
No,
favorite
I know,
characters.
and I do love Patton. I mean, I'd also sort of thought, okay, what if in her rage she kills Amaram and the copycat killing, we've had physical similarities for all of the victims,
Mm-hmm.
but we've also got like location similarities, like how much has to marry up for this to be a copycat deal. Like, yes, they look similar, but presumably is it Sadius and I can't remember the guy's name. The
Oh,
other
the Perel, I think was the guy's name.
Yeah,
Perel.
Perel.
Yeah. So presumably they were in the same place at the same time because we know that in the bar, like that's their common venue and presume like that they all knew each other. So maybe it's sort of a common thing of you've kind of got to know them. Like Rock was a Horn Eater. Maybe he knew this other Horn Eater and latched on to that. So maybe it's not if it wasn't physical appearance. And I think the thought that popped into my head, which I don't know how much it would marry up because I don't think they look particularly similar. What if like Shallan killed Amaram and then the copycat was killing Adolin or something? So
Ooh.
yeah, I know. Like my brain went to dark places, and I don't want Adolin. I don't want Adolin to die. I don't want Patton to die. I don't particularly want anyone to die. But that would put her down a path of, well, theoretically, I killed someone I loved, even though I may not be necessarily the person who did it. My first actions resulted in that or something, and then that would set her down a path where I could see a lot of the wording in the epigraphs kind of matching up to her based on like what she's learned from Yasna, who she's trying to be, Dalinar's views. She's learning from Dalinar at the moment as well. Like I could see it in the future, not current state Shallan, but I could see a future state of Shallan where this would fit.
That's really interesting. I love this idea that it's like I killed someone who loved me, and it's not literally like I murdered someone, but because of what I did, that definitely opens up other possibilities for even beyond just Shallan for who it could be. That's a really neat idea.
But it's probably Dalinar.
Probably Dalinar though. Also, you had a great thought about like Shallan maybe doing things. We've seen that she's apparently done drawings that she and Pattern both do not remember doing. So what else could she be doing that not only she, but maybe Pattern doesn't remember for whatever reason that we don't know yet? Like that opens up all sorts of possibilities for like anything could be happening. It's disturbing.
Yeah. And if what if this was Odium's friend, just say if that's what was happening and they'd taken on like another personality of Shallan, that would be quite something if Odium's champion was Shallan.
Oh man.
And you've got Dalinar being Honor's champion effectively, and what's going through Dalinar's head about how they would go about things. Like that would be pretty crazy to have two of our characters. I hope whatever that is going on with Shallan, they figure it out and it's like doesn't go down that path. But could you imagine if it got to a point where it's like, well, it's one or the other?
Ooh,
it would suck big time.
that would. Man, you really have gone some dark places today. I like this. Okay.
I'm going to cite sleep deprived, trying to listen to the chapters while having a screaming baby and a 3-year-old who just needs a hug.
Aw, that's so cute. Yeah. Okay, no, this is good. I think people are gonna love that. Okay.
I gotta follow that act.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I don't have much. I say I don't have much. I've got wild swings, which are probably not going to pan out, and they're not.
Okay.
They're not exactly very well thought out either. Mother of Lies is the only chapter title I thought of, and that sounds like it could be a Shallan chapter, based on the lies and everything. It's like, oh, Shallan, the Mother of Lies. That seems like a bit of a that seems like a brag.
Humble brag.
Yeah. So I thought maybe it's not Shallan being the Mother of Lies, but maybe she meets her. Maybe the Night Watcher has come to town
Ooh.
and is hiding in there. And I don't know. This is purely dumb, off the cuff stuff. But the whole someone gets killed and then someone else gets killed. It's like that's the curse and the boon. The boon is you commit the violence you want to, and the curse is someone else has to suffer for it later or something. I don't know. Probably doesn't work like that, but that was just something that popped into my head. But we know some of the characters in Urithiru have a history with the Night Watcher. This is where shit about the fate of Roshar is happening. So it would make sense if like the big spren around the planet, like the Unmade or the Night Watcher, starts taking interest. So maybe the Night Watcher just got there first. We don't know where the Night Watcher lives, do we? Like we know that people know enough to have gone to see her.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. 1 second. We do actually.
We do?
In this, no, not in this section, in the previous section, I think. So Navani asks him to tell her about what he remembers about his experience going to the Night Watcher. And he says, there wasn't much. The valley had lots of plants, blah, blah, blah. Valley is capitalized.
Oh, the valley.
Yeah, if you look at the map of Roshar, there's
like
a place called the Valley.
And it's right under Urithiru. Like, it's right fucking there.
Yeah.
So... Night Watch is just here. It's like, you all are in my yard. Okay, cool. So, yeah, man. Night Watch is like, it was a nice, quiet neighborhood till you fuckers moved in. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah. We do need to see more of her. Or something of her.
Any of her. We only have other people's descriptions, vague as they are at this point.
Yeah, we keep hearing, like, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's so mysterious. Like, we need to see something. And I mean, we know that Dalinar has been there, and we know we're getting his flashbacks this book, so maybe that's something that we will see. But at some point, we need to see that. They keep teasing us with it.
Who else do we know that's gone to see her? And Lift is one, but
Lift, yeah.
Anyone else? I feel like there were more people, but I can't remember them.
We've seen people talking about it, and we've seen people say, like, yeah, my uncle went, or whatever. I don't know that we know anyone else who specifically has been.
For some reason, I want to say that one of those dudes who was helping Chris steal shit in the interlude in the first book, but I could be misremembering that. That was a long time ago.
Not Chris, but there was, yeah. There were two guys helping their mistress, like, not even steal things. They were
destroy things. We assumed that was Chris. Were we wrong?
Yeah, that was not Chris.
Okay. All right, never mind.
But yes, those two guys, like one of them said like everyone in his family had been basically, but he had not. And the other guy was talking about how he was thinking about going.
Okay.
I think it was Baxel was the guy's name.
Yeah,
who was like, he was wanting to go because he was wanting like bravery or something. I don't remember exactly his deal, but he was talking about it. But I don't think either of them had actually. Oh, we do know somebody, Taravangian.
Oh, of course, Doi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a silly oversight. Yeah. Okay. So a few people have gone, and two of the people who have gone are now very important in Urithiru, right next door. So maybe she's like, "What's this? Are all my old test subjects convening? Are they?"
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get the feeling the Night Watch is going to have to play a part at some point, a more direct part than she has so far. So maybe she's the Mother of Lies. That could be fun.
Yeah, I can see that.
The only other, there's less of a prediction and more of just this could be possible. I'm going to preface this. I don't think this is very likely, and this is purely a wild swing. But the thought that entered my head when Shallan was chasing whatever it was down the slot and seeing just like this mass pressing through, and like she can sort of see faces, or like body parts or everything getting broken or crushed or whatever. I'm just like, is that a Kandra?
I could totally see that being a Kandra. Yeah.
I thought that's where you were going to go with that. Yeah. And as soon as you were like, I've got thoughts on that, I was like, that's such a good thought.
We're on the same wavelength.
Honestly, I thought that you would theorize about like one of those one of the sleepless, like the guys made of little crabs or whatever. But no, that's a really good thought.
No, because if it was like little crab dude, it would split apart into the crabs, and they would crab their way down that corridor. It would just be like a swarm of them. Like it wouldn't be still
Yeah.
a mass of a body that looks kind of like goop. But yeah, it could be the Kandra, and like
That's
you can
exactly
still
what Chandra are. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like you could still see the body parts because maybe the Kandra's still got the bones inside, but they're being crushed in the thing, so that's why it looks all distended and unformed.
That's a good thought.
Could
yeah.
also explain why when Shallan's chasing it through the market and then finds Rock, and Rock's like, "Oh, it was this woman with a hat and a coat." I was like, "Well, it doesn't say what they look like. Like he didn't seem to recognize the person,
Yeah.
but they could have the body of a woman
Yeah,
and be able to run through, just be a blob monster other time."
yeah. Like I can't piece together if it were to be a Kandra, I can't piece together why they would be doing the copied violence crime.
That
So
is
it's
a
like,
weird thing for them to want to do.
so like when trying to think, okay, if it's a Kandra, what would that be about? I'm just like, maybe it's just coincidence that she was chasing a Kandra at the same time, like the copycat human Spren, whatever, does like commits one of the things that just happened to be in the same area, and she was just following a completely different lead.
That would be a weird coincidence, but it could happen.
It's coincidence. We also don't know, what the hell the Ghost Blood's up to. We know that they're there, and who's to say that a Kandra is not part of the Ghost Bloods?
Oh sure,
True.
like
Yeah.
Ghost Kendra could absolutely be part of their team. I just don't know why one, if a Kandra is committing the copycat murders, one, why, and two, why is Mraize the head of the Ghost Bloods then telling her, yeah, you need to find out what the fuck's going on there? It's like if it's one of his crew,
I mean, that's a point.
like
Yeah.
This is a solid theory. I had told you guys previously that Brandon told us there is at least a Kandra somewhere on Roshar. So
yep. So
interesting. Okay.
I don't know the how or the why of a Kandra being here, but as soon as I saw Blob Monster going down the slots, I'm just like, well, that's where my mind went.
How many blob monsters do we know at this point in the Cosmere? So yeah, that's a good thought.
Like as a species or personally? Because we know quite a few.
Well, I meant as a species, yeah. Like how many varieties of blob monster do we know?
Yeah, okay.
I can think of maybe one other.
Do we know the other?
Do you remember when Dalinar was in the vision and like weird smoke dog things were attacking him?
Oh yeah, and we kind of assumed that those were the Voidbringers, and then it turns out they weren't. That wasn't the case at all. I keep forgetting to bring that up, but I'm just like, oh, what was that vision? If those weren't the Voidbringers, what the fuck were they?
Yeah, right. Like that is an excellent question. But yeah, that's he said when he hit them, it was kind of like they were bags of some. That's the only other blobby thing I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe. Hey, if anyone out there remembers other blob monsters we've met in the Cosmere, let us know. Because now I want to know.
Smoke dogs. Smoke dogs sounds like a Tarantino movie.
I mean, he's already done Reservoir Dogs. I don't think he could do Smoke Dogs. Like he doesn't repeat himself like that much.
That's the sequel.
He would do it for a sequel. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
If he was going to do a sequel, I mean, I don't count Kill Bill 1 and 2 because they're just two parts of the one movie. He doesn't seem like a guy who'd be big on sequels to me.
Yeah, sequels aren't really his thing. Although he was planning to do a Kill Bill 3 for the longest time, like
oh yeah, that took place. Yeah, like Vivica A. Fox's daughter in the movie. Yeah, I remember that. That would have been interesting.
Well, he was also talking about doing like a movie with. It fell apart. It's never going to happen. But he was talking about because John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction and Michael Madsen's character in Reservoir Dogs, he said were brothers, and he was going to do a He was going to do a prequel about them being brothers, but it just never eventuated.
That also would have been a very cool thing. Yeah, the Vega brothers. Obviously, you couldn't do it. We're so far past that. Like John Travolta cannot look that young.
No.
Is Michael Madsen still alive?
He's still alive, but I mean, he's he also is getting on in years. I mean, Pulp Fiction was 31 years ago.
I mean, even Michael Madsen from Kill Bill, I would not have believed could play a younger version of himself from Reservoir Dogs, which was like 10 years earlier. So no, we're past that. You'd have to recast, and I feel like half the reason he wanted to do that was because he liked these guys. So
no, absolutely,
doing it with a different cast wouldn't make sense. All right. Well, after that diversion, Quentin Tarantino, good filmmaker. Go watch those. I'm sure that none of you knew that he does good movies. Jackie Brown, great movie. Go watch it.
Underrated.
Yes, exactly. That's why I bring it up. I'm like, I feel like that's the underrated one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. We don't have any new patrons, and Joe's not here, so we wouldn't do them anyway. Let's do a couple emails, and then we'll wrap up, y'all. You know what? Fidlip, I'm gonna save yours because it talks about Joe. I'm gonna save that one for when Joe's back. So this one is from Yisrael. I don't know how you would say that. I'm sorry. And the email is titled, Really Enjoying the Show. I started listening about 3 weeks ago and have been loving your journey. I'm up to episode 148, so almost done with White Sand. I listen at 1.5 speed at work. You all have super interesting takes, and I love the references, even if I don't know Futurama or Final Fantasy. Fun aside, are you guys pumped for the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set, which is out now? I was just at a game store today, and they have released the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering stuff, and I've never played Magic. My wife used to play Magic. But when they released this set, I was like, okay, I'm going to order us this 2 starter deck pack, and we're going to try it out because Final Fantasy. So if that answers your question.
Man, if you had to throw out something that I know less about than Final Fantasy, Magic the Gathering was a good choice.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't know much about it either. I know that Brandon loves it, and I think when I was a teenager, somebody gave me a deck for Christmas, and I played 3 times. But that's a very long time ago. So yeah, but there's some cool cards in there from Final Fantasy, so I'm gonna give it a try. And Joe also was, I think I talked to him about it. I was like, I texted him when I saw the thing. I was like, have you seen this? And he's like, yeah, it looks cool. We should try it out. So maybe he'll get some too. Some of these Magic the Gathering things, I was at the store today, just browsing around, and they had these Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering, what they call Commanders packs or decks or something. And in fact, I'm gonna look up what that is. Commanders. The MTG, the Magic the Gathering Commander format, picking your hero and building a deck around them. It's a casual multiplayer format where you choose a legendary creature to serve as your commander and build the rest of your deck around their identity. So they had a couple of pre-built commander deck things in boxes at the store. And they're like $110 each. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So apparently, some serious shit that people are into. Continuing the email, if I had a bone to pick with Joe today when he said he likes DC Comics over Marvel, but not really. I'm looking forward to you guys getting up to date. Also, want to be current with the podcast as it's cutting drastically into my music time as I binge it. My little brother is reading Stormlight, just finished The Way of Kings, and Data, I don't understand how you don't actually spoil everything. Also, I've been enjoying listening to you talk about the Year of Sanderson boxes. When you said that you only got Tress in March, I was sad. I only got it in late April or early May. Anyway, message to future self. Get off your butt and do the thing. Thank you for the year's worth of free entertainment that I'm shoving way too much of into my ears. Passing to the time of next, Colo. And then it's error icon, address not found, and a bunch of other lines. So I assume that that's not something intentional that they were intending for us to read. Thank you for the email, but I'm going to jump right into, they sent another email not long after that one. I'm on episode 189, and Joe was touching on the idea of Syl being an honor spren. Data, you were pushing way too hard and putting way too much information out there. Otherwise, I've been loving the journey. Been about 3 weeks, hoping to be caught up by the end of the week. Thanks for the fun. I didn't go back and listen to that episode. Maybe I was pushing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like when somebody comes out with a correct theory that I'm usually pushing on it, but maybe it could happen. If only because I gotta mix it up sometime. I can't just push on non-correct theories. I got to push on a correct one now and then to, so they don't start seeing a pattern and guessing from my reactions.
It's true.
There's one more that we can read. Go ahead and read today. This one is from Leslie, and it says, heard my email and new theories. Who I believe was it last week that we read some Leslie emails? Yes. Leslie was the person who wrote in last week about talking about Gaz and Zahel and guessing that Zahel may have been Vasher. And you guys were like, should you maybe email her and be like, hey, this thing gets spoiled? So it's funny. I told you guys last week when you said that, I was like, I thought about that, but she literally emailed again today, and I haven't read that yet, so she may have already guessed that. So keep that in mind. This is the email she sent the day that you guys were like, hey, maybe you should email her and be like, hey, this gets accidentally spoiled. So this says, heard my email and new theories. Hello, everyone. Congrats on the new baby. I hope things are going well for you. I haven't set in pictures for a minute, so please enjoy these photos of the 3 mud gremlins having a blast playing in the swamp. I do not expect to find in the dog park. Oh, so there's a swamp. There was like a swampy area of the dog park. Okay, I'm following. The big one is Penny. The black one is Bella. Those are mine. The third one is my friend's German Shepherd Corgi mix named Marley. All 3 of them love rolling in the mud and splashing it all over. I'm sure they do. Dogs love that. Here, I will share with you guys this picture of 3 dogs. Very cute. One of the reasons that I don't have dogs is I don't want to roll around in the mud and come in the house. My cats don't do that. My cats don't want to go outside at all, actually. So anyway, I'm emailing because I finally got to the episode where you read my email. I think it was 1 or 2 episodes after I wrote in the first time that the space dragon theory was first revealed. I was so excited that someone had a similar theory. I'm terrible at remembering who says what. I feel better and better about my Adonalsium theory of them being a space dragon, especially with the Frost and Hoid letters. I'm probably wrong about Hoid gathering them for a friend, but I bet Hoid is trying to bring back Adonalsium somehow. If Roshar was grown by Adonalsium, maybe it mirrors the Cosmere in some way? The Oath Gates and perpendicularities seem similar enough to support this in my mind. What do you guys think about this? And what would that mean for the wider Cosmere if Roshar is like a guide or a map? So I'll pause there. I had never considered that before. I would have to think about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of information there.
Yeah.
I mean, the perpendicularities take you like between like planets, right?
Well, you can go through the perpendicularity to get to the cognitive realm, and then you can travel in the cognitive realm to get to like another planet, and then come back through the perpendicularity. So kind of,
yeah. I guess an Oathgate it kind of just does it in the current realm, in the physical realm.
Yeah.
It could be all like a network. It's like public transport. You know, you've got buses and trains, and you know they function differently. Some are above ground, some are below ground. Some are in the cognitive realm.
Well, that's an interesting. That's a real interesting point. I wonder if the Oath Gates have like a distance limitation. Like, could you go to another planet with an Oath Gate?
Yeah, has anyone tried? It's like, I don't know.
I mean, I assume there would have to be a gate there, so you'd have. It depends on how you make them. I think, but.
Yeah, I feel like if Roshar was going to have a perpendicularity, like Irathera would be a good place to have one. I'm sure there's other ones, but I feel like this would be a good spot to have one.
I think we sort of theorized that the peak, the volcano that rock came from, was a perpendicularity because of like he would talk about meeting people from. He didn't realize it, but like he would describe meeting people that we recognize. Like I think that's from someone from another world, dude.
Yeah, it was Hoid. Like the Hoid came out of the water and insulted him, or whatever is what you guys.
That's right. Yeah,
is what we took from it. So you're like, yeah, that might be a perpendicularity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there could be others. I mean, there was more than one on Scadrial, like the pits and the well.
Yeah, that's true. Preservation had one, and Ruin had one. So if each shard gets one, then there might be 3 here.
Oh yeah, that tracks.
Yeah,
Uratheory sounds like a good candidate, I guess.
Okay, sorry. Continuing the email. I reread Sixth of the Dusk recently, and I'm convinced that Patji holds Odium's perpendicularity and his home. It leads me to wonder what happens to the planet when its shard, though alive, is unable to be there for it. I know Autonomy is traveling the Cosmere, but does she have to return periodically to her home planet? If she does, what happens to Odium now that he can't return? I don't know that we ever heard of any connection between Odium and the Sixth of the Dusk planet, so if...
I think it's more just a case of like everything on that island was trying to kill you, and that sounds like Odium's bag.
Yeah. So that would be interesting, because we know he's trapped here now. That's what we've learned from like the letters and things. So, what would happen? I'm also convinced that Vasher is Zahel. I forgot until I listened to you guys talk about it, but he mentions that he hadn't heard a voice in his head for years. Then suddenly Nightblood appears with Nin? Not a coincidence. Do you think Nightblood would be capable of talking Zeth out of obeying his Oathstone? Is he still bound by it? Anyway, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on what secret plots you think ILI has going now that Sadius is dead. Wasing to the time of next, Colo, PS Vasher, Crabs Ahoy. So...
Yeah, fairly certain Seth is not bound by the Oathstone anymore. I think that ship sailed, considering he was just like, I'm gonna go fuck up the shin for telling me I was truthless when I wasn't. But also, did Leslie miss like the accidental spoiler? I
think she clearly read the book at this point, but I don't know that she's listened to the episode at that point.
But she said she heard her previous email, which came after that.
A previous email?
Yeah, because we read her previous email last week. That hasn't even aired yet as of now. So she must have been talking about an email from before that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, I guess that she's read the book but not listened to that episode of us yet where that gets revealed. Because the next day after that, she wrote another email that says, P.S. And I just got to the part where you spoiled Vasher. I knew it. So there would have been time for me to warn her if I'd listened to you guys when we recorded last week. One day later, it was too late. Ah well. Live and learn.
Hope you enjoyed that journey of being spoiled as much as we did.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed that.
What a wild ride.
Oh, yeah.
I still think about it. Sorry, Dana.
Oh man, everyone loved it. It was entertaining for all of the people listening, so that's what really matters, right? We have a couple emails. We'll save those. Like I said, no new patrons this week. So if you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky and Patreon, where my listening and reacting to Wind and Truth for the first time is still going up. One episode a week. I think I have, let's see how many of those should be left at this point. Nope, that's the wrong folder. There we go. There is about 22 episodes worth left. So still got a ways to go. The most recent one got up to chapter 87. And so, yeah, there's still a lot left. So if you're interested in hearing my reactions and me just ramble, feel free to go and check out our Patreon as well. Remember, we're doing 3 chapters for next week, so if you're following along, that's 28, 29, and 30. Read those. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Vasher. Haha, I'm Sil.
Corona's wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen, unity will bring the upper hand. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn.